On today's episode of Locked On 76ers, we are 1 day away from the beginning of the free agent period in the NBA. Now, a lot of more rumors, a lot more discussion out there, some speculation. One of them being, again, the 76ers, Tobias Harris. We'll begin things there next, right here, Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On 76ers is partnering with Arcade 1UP to give away 3 free NBA Jam Shack machines. That's right, 3. These are the guys known for making the incredible retro 3/4 scale at home arcade games like Pac-Man, Golden Tee, and many more. Enter to win on arcade1up.com/locked on. That's arcade1ups.com/locked on for your chance to win one. Welcome. You are Locked On 76ers. I'm Devon Gibbons from 97.5 The Fanatic Radio in Philadelphia, alongside my co-host and partner, Keith Pompey, Sixers beat writer for the Enquirer.com. What's going on, Keith?
What's poppin', D? How you doing, bro?
Oh, man, 1 day closer, 1 day closer. So we got to dive into a lot of things that you're hearing, things that we see sprinkled around everywhere else. And we got to thank people for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On 76ers is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On 76ers. Well, Keith, one of the names that we talked about pre-draft and a lot pre-draft was Tobias Harris. We mentioned Matisse Thybulle. We'll get into so many others from around the league. The latest with PJ Tucker, with how Keith feels there. Some other things out there as well. Matisse Thybulle, more information as we go along. But Keith, Tobias Harris's name pops up again, and you've talked about him for a good part of the offseason, as there has been some interest, minimal interest around the league about possibly acquiring him. The 76ers looking to move on from his contract and send him elsewhere as they look to do things and reshape possibly their roster a bit. Now the latest, Tobias Harris may be drawing some interest from the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, I mean, none of this is surprising because when you look at it, let's face it, you got people around the league saying it's a done deal with PJ Tucker. People saying, "Oh, I'll be shocked if it doesn't happen." I mean, the thing is, in order for it to happen, the Sixers have to clear some cap space. Now we have a better idea, and we'll talk about that later, what the cap space is, or what the projections are. The projection's going to be, but it's one of those things where Tobias Harris, is set to make a lot of money, $37 million next year. So it's one of those things where he has that contract. If you get rid of Tobias Harris, not only can you bring in PJ Tucker, you can make a trade and get Eric Gordon and have both of those guys contracts. Because you think about it, one's making 19.5, the other one wants to get 10. That's 29. Tobias is going to make 37. So with that being said, the Sixers want to trade him. They want to get him out of here. Not like that, but they just want to, get rid of that salary so they can get the players in that they really would like to have.
Yeah, the interesting part there is you talk about, let's just total it up to 29 million with the Gordon and PJ Tucker. And there may be some others. We didn't see the Anthony Melton thing playing out and the way that it did. Very good move by Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, and the Sixers to acquire him on draft night. So with that, you just wonder, then, as I do, and I'm sure you and some of the people out there listening and viewing here would wonder, then what would the roster look like? And that's the tough part, because we just don't know as of yet how it will all come together. Would it be PJ Tucker starting, but he's playing more of the 4 position because he can do that, and you have more of an athletic wing possibly playing there next to him with Harden and Maxey in the backcourt? That's the intriguing part of it, because as we do that and we start to foreshadow things, you would have to assume that Eric Gordon is coming off the bench, because that's what he has done for a good latter part of his career, and that's where he was. And that would provide something, a really good punch off the bench for the Sixers and Doc Rivers. So then that's when, again, you start to talk about some other corresponding moves that may happen in the speculation of what other player could they be doing. Or, Keith, if we're talking about Sacramento, with the drafting of Keegan Murray, the rookie out of Iowa, and them maybe trying to find their way in the playoffs out west, whether it's the play-in tournament or at one of the top 6 teams, could Harrison Barnes be a part of this? And that's where the conversation will start to go into things as the Sixers try to put this together. Could it be a lesser deal where you are bringing back someone like Harrison Barnes and his number? I don't think it's quite in the 20s, but could be somewhere in the high teens, like Eric Gordon with his $18-19 million. And if that's the case, then you do have your starting 4 at that point. But interesting, again, that Sacramento would be one of those teams after acquiring Keegan Murray, the talented rookie from Iowa, and maybe Harrison Barnes, who's his name we've heard too, whether it's here, Atlanta, some other places. And he's been on the move quite a bit after leaving Golden State in their championship run early on in his career. That will be something that will, of course, have us all paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah, the thing is, though, I don't know. Like, I know this might sound a little crazy, but I don't know if I would pay too much attention to the people that they got coming. We think coming back. Mm-hmm. I think that could be more or less a 3-team deal. You know, sure. Because I think that if you're going to bring in this 19, now maybe you may be able to get someone cheaper, right? You may be able to get someone cheaper. But I'm under the belief, like, if you're going to bring in this $29 million, you're not trying to, if you do that, you're not trying to bring back a lot of people. Because then, yeah, you're going to be messed up. I think that could be something that could swing another direction. Now, when you look at a team, like, let's just say Houston, we're just going to throw Houston out there because of Eric Gordon. Like, this is a team that has young guys. They're trying to develop young guys. And ideally, you would say, if you're the Sixers, you would say, well, why don't we just do something with Houston? Well, if Tobias Harris is kind of sort of in his prime of his right now, they want to play these young stars and develop them, let them go through their process, so to speak, and turn in the corner. You know, he doesn't really fit in based on his years. You know what I mean? Like, they got rid of guys like Christian Wood for a reason, because they want to play these young guys. So, you know, my thinking when you talk about all that is like, is a lot of guys that we can think of, but I would be surprised if they traded him to Sacramento for a straight up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
3-team with Houston would make sense. Where if that happened that way, Harris goes out there to Sacramento. Hypothetically, Gordon comes to Philadelphia, and we figure out the other part of what might happen. Maybe Sacramento sends something to Houston, and we know that they like draft picks at this point of their rebuild. So maybe that's how things would be starting to swing for this particular thing. And then, hey, man, we have another one. Again, where you reported last week about Matisse Thybulle, and there are others following your footsteps and mentioning him. We'll talk about him, the latest of what we potentially could see in the coming days about Matisse Thybulle, his future with the 76ers. That's all next, right here on Locked On 76ers. And I got to tell you, folks, about eating right, feeling better, and healthy and balanced overall. Feeling your best starts with what you eat. Sakara helps you live a healthy, balanced lifestyle and truly enjoy it with delicious, plant-rich, transformational nutrition that builds a foundation for living in your best body. So when I myself have to work late nights during the summer and during the fall and the winter, spring, but also specifically during the basketball season where we're staying up well past midnight with all the work that we're doing. Or how about right now where I'm filling in locally here on my radio station during the morning show? I want to make sure that I'm healthy, I'm balanced, and I'm feeling right. Now is the time, though, for you as well as me to seek wellness, joy, and abundance in all areas of life, starting with what you eat. With Sakara, you get nutrient-dense meals, snacks, and supplements that nourish your body without ever sacrificing taste or quality. You know, you still want the thing to taste right, right? Well, listen, Sakara is a wellness company anchored in food as medicine on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. It's a plant-rich, ingredient-based place where you have the nutritionally designed, chef-crafted breakfast, lunches, and dinners that are, again, made with powerful plant-rich ingredients, helping boost your energy, support your digestion, curb your sugar cravings. I do have that, and get your skin glowing. Listen, right now, Sakara is offering listeners 20% off your first order when they go to sakara.com/lockedon20 or enter code LOCKEDON20 at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/LockedOn20 to get 20% off your first order. That's Sakara.com/LockedOn20.
So what's the deal? That person calling wanted to get some Sakara.
They wanted to get some Sakara. Absolutely. I know you
We
heard
want
it.
you to give it to them
Other
today,
heard
people.
as
Give
well.
it to them today.
This is real live, folks. Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast for nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Keith, Matisse Thybulle, popular name, man. And I got to bring this up first because doing the show this morning on the Fanatic locally and reading tweets as such, also on Sixers Twitter, man, so many people on the phones, social media, do not want to give up on Matisse Thybulle, feeling that with us all talking about young and athletic players coming in, the one young and athletic player that you do have that plays, why do you want to give up on Matisse Thybulle? So that's been the pulse really that I've been able to take. I don't know if you've heard the same thing or read the same thing, but that seems to be a good part of the Sixer fan base at this point. But there is a good amount of people who also say enough is enough and they've seen enough at this point, especially after the situation with the Toronto Raptors in the first round.
Yeah, but I'm one of those people who I read a lot, I've seen a lot, and I wrote a lot. Like I've written a lot. I believe that it's too early to give up on Matisse. I mean, me personally, I mean, you look at Matisse Thybulle, and I know people say, "Oh, he's a 30-something% 3-point shooter." Well, he was a 30% 3-point shooter in college, right? But he was also one of those guys who they knew that wasn't his game. They knew he was a quality defender. He came here because he was supposed to be the missing link on the defense. He's a 2-time second team, all defensive second team selection. Now, when you look at that, all the other guys on these teams are like bona fide starters. This is a guy who comes off the bench, and you look at his stats, they're up there with everybody else, and he's doing it in less minutes. I think that he's going to be special, but it's also one of those things where he has to get time to develop. And I know we're not trying to make excuses for him, but when you think about this, the first year was the pandemic. He really couldn't do anything in the off season. And then last year was one of those things. He was at the Olympic team. Now, he had to think long and hard about doing that, the Australian Olympic team, because he knew he had to get in the lab, but he's not getting in the lab. You're playing games. You're not working on your game, improving it. You're trying to play games, to win games. So I think that the Matisse Thybulle that people will see next season is going to be an improved player. And I would hate for the 76ers for them to see that improved player thriving on another tean.
And you're talking about on the offensive end, right?
Yeah.
Now, look, he does have to get back to being a Matisse Thybulle. While he did make all NBA second team defensively, again, his defense did slip. I mean, as much as I like the guy too, his defense slipped. A lot of gambling from behind, whether it's the block shots, the tip-aways, reach-ins, and all, and he seemed to lose his confidence in the postseason. That's all well and good as we talk about him being able to develop. 3 years is 3 years. It's not nothing. And I understand that he hasn't had the offseason, and that it is a good point. However, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have seen a semblance of the improvement offensively. If anything, Keith, it seemed like he improved, but then he took a step back. And that's the thing. Could it be a confidence thing? It could very well be.
Very much so.
It very well could be. But listen, it has to happen. It has to happen. It's because this team right now, and you know it as well as I do, they're trying to win. They're trying to win right now. He has been a very good piece. And I commend them for trading for him in that draft where he was selected 20th by the Celtics and the Sixers traded up to get him. And it has all worked out. Now going into year number 4, and we're talking contract extension stuff too, he has to be better. And right now, you reported back during the draft that a lot of teams were interested, in one of them being the Portland Trailblazers. And while they did acquire Jeremy Grant via trade, Yusuf Nurkic, you think he's going to come back, same for Anthony Simons. And they drafted a young player Also Shaedon Sharpe out of Kentucky. Now they're going to continue to try to put things around Damian Lillard and that team. And if Matisse Thybulle is available and they're still looking to have those conversations about him, that's one team that you brought up, and you start to see sprinkled again out there, with just some others mentioning the Portland Trailblazers linked to Matisse Thybulle.
Yeah. I mean, there's some other ones. Now, here's something. There was a report, that came out that the Dallas Mavericks are also one of those teams, and we talked about that before the break. Now, The one thing, and the thing is, it could be new, and we both know the reporter, and I have the utmost respect for him. But I've also been informed that the Dallas Mavericks have really loved him, of course, but they've always been they liked him for a while, right? And he was no longer on the list. The one thing I will say that is right now, when you think of Dallas, things have changed because the money that they were going to have in the spot for Jaden, what's my man went to Villanova?
Jalen
Brunson. I was like, oh God, that ain't great. But him, it's like, so things could change. But according to several sources, like they feel like this was something in the past, is no longer ongoing. But I have a lot of the utmost respect for the reporter, and he wouldn't put something out like that. So I feel like under the circumstances, they could be another team in the loop trying to see what's going on,
or at least calling around and seeing if they can get it back in the mix. And we know they also acquired Christian Wood before the draft as well, so maybe things are a little bit tight there as far as the finances go with how they want to operate and go forward. So again, another name that keeps popping up that linked to the Sixers, obviously because he does play for Philadelphia, but another name that may have some interest around the league. And Keith, with all of this, from Harden to Harris to Thybulle and PJ Tucker and any of these names, Eric Gordon, that we discussed, the salary cap is a key part of this. And we, it seems, have an update on what the salary cap number will be for the 22-23 campaign. We'll give everybody that. We'll talk about it and what it means for the Sixers, since they are close right there at beyond the luxury tax. We'll get into it all next right here on the Locked On 76ers.
Right now, I want to talk to y'all about BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports odds and news, developments, league reviews, and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline remains the number one, get this, the number one source for all sports scores, podcasts, news this season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right. Keith is so locked in on getting all this information down out there with the Sixers beginning free agency. He forgets to say, do it today, people.
You were supposed to do it yesterday, people. You do it yesterday.
Do it today, people, and yesterday, and Thursday as well. Welcome back, Locked On 76ers. That's Keith Pompey. I'm Devon Givens here with you on this Wednesday. And Keith, the final thing that we have to get into, it seems like the projected numbers have changed for the 22-23 campaign. It appeared that the number was going to be, let me make sure I pull this up the right way. The projected salary is now going to be $123.6 million. And with the luxury tax, $150.2 million. And the tax apron, the cap hit, hard cap, pardon me, 156.9. That's the hard cap for the luxury tax paying teams. So the Sixers are one of the luxury tax teams, Keith. So they have to hit up to 150. We're the Sixers right now, as we speak, right around 130. What was it? 130.
If Harden opts in, they're at 151.
Mm-hmm.
If he opts in. They're at 151
Okay.
with like 13 players. So if he opts out, then they're like kind of sort of like a little bit over like 102 or something like 102. So 102, 103. So I mean if he opts out, they're good. But right now it's like even see the thing is the problem is I believe they would have to shed like $8.2 million. And on the old thing, they would probably have to shed like $8.2 million to bring in to bring in PJ Tucker. Right about now, they would have to bring in like around $6 million to get him with that. You know what I mean? We're talking about shed to get him and also to have enough money to give out a minimum salary thing.
Okay, and the numbers before the numbers again 123.6 million, more than 11 a million jump from last season, which is good. That just means the league is in a good place right now for it to jump like that. And the number before, as I double check and see, it was 112.4 million, if I have that correctly, last season, and that's why that's a significant jump with the 11 million and what it could mean for the Sixers as they may have a little bit more to work with overall as they try to lock in and bring PJ Tucker or anybody else here in town to lace them up and put the jersey on, the uniform on for the Philadelphia 76ers next season. So, Keith, and it's going to be interesting in just what, 27 hours. 27 hours. As we do this late today, we apologize. We had a lot going on, a lot of reporting from Keith to find out some things. And so we had to get this one done a little bit later than usual. 27 hours. We will know as the start of free agency begins, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the NBA, and what teams will be doing, and more specifically for the Sixer fans, what they will be doing with their roster. So we appreciate everybody checking in with us late. Sorry, we are late, but we will be back a little bit earlier, hopefully tomorrow as we get ready and gear up for it. We got to thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. Tomorrow, we'll dive into a little bit more of what the 76ers could do on the first day of free agency. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. We're Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Keith, let people know where to find us. It's important, especially around free agency time.
Yeah, first of all, wherever you get your podcast at, you can subscribe to this podcast, right? Wherever you get your podcast at, you can subscribe it. But if you want this podcast, the one that you can look at us and see us, breaking down, laughing, joking, the whole nine, go to YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel, Locked On 76ers, right? Podcast. And what you do is click on the Liberty Bell. Philadelphia 76ers, click on the Liberty Bell. And what happens is you do that, and then you can become a subscriber to our YouTube channel. And what you need to do is this week, my man D is on 97.5 in the mornings. He's putting things down. You need to check him out this week. But going back to next week, you listen to him on 97.5 from 6 to 10 in the evenings, right? Mondays through Fridays. That's where you can get my man. And what you do for me is go to Enquirer.com, right? Or you could go pick up a Philadelphia Enquirer and you could read my Sixers coverage. Also, what you can do is you can do yourself a favor and follow us on Twitter. I'm sorry for being like a favor, but we always keep up with this stuff on Twitter. And that's my man, Divine G975. And you can follow me at Pompey on Sixers. Do it today, people. Do it today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. James Harden, you don't have a choice. You have to do it today. James Harden. You have to do it today. For the people who are wondering what I'm talking about, today is his opt-in or opt-out day. He makes the decision on if he's going to opt in to the $47.4 million or opt out and make himself a free agent, but decide hopefully to re-sign with the 76ers and go from there, maybe create certain space for the Sixers to operate on the open market. Keith, enjoy the rest of your day on the phone, because that's what you will be doing. And we will talk tomorrow, updating the people on much more. Thanks, man.
Hey, thank you. A brother want to get a haircut, a beard trim, but I can't.
Gotta look good for the
Yeah.
for the free agent period. I understand.
Looking like Grizzly Adams, but it's okay.
All right, man.
All right, bro. Peace.
Thank you, guys.